minutes, there's an issue. So how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Yeah, it's a Wednesday morning for me, so midway through the week, I've had a sort of interesting week because my wife and I went to Disneyland on Monday, and then
Oh
yesterday
wow,
got a
how was
full day of
that?
work in, and so yeah, just back at it now.
Oh, that's so much fun. What did you do down in Disneyland besides go to Disneyland? Just do the park?
Yeah, just did the park, and then ate at is it Ralph Brennan's Kitchen in downtown Disney, like one of the dinner spots
Oh,
down there.
that's fun. Isn't that up for you? Because you're about as far south in California, so it's actually up.
Yeah, it's a little bit north. It's about an hour and a half drive ish.
That's
It's
not
not bad
bad.
though. Yeah, I was just telling my wife, I was like, it's crazy that like we get to just like drive up to Disneyland because for most people, because there's so many people there. I was wondering, I was like, how many people here are tourists or like or out of town? And I was like, wait, I guess we're out of town, but we're not really out of town. Like we're driving
No.
distance. This is like a whole trip for a lot of people.
Yeah. You've heard of Sesame Place before, right?
Sesame Street?
The Sesame Place, it's the theme
No.
park.
Uh-uh.
Well, there's the theme park is in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, in Bucks County. It's about 45 minutes south of me, but it was like 5 minutes from my house growing up.
Oh, I see.
And so when you're a little kid, you're like, oh, you see people making a trip to to it, and it's literally a mile square little park next to a mall.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like such a big deal for little kids, and it's like I just grew up around there. It was like no big deal, like
Right.
no big
Yeah,
deal.
same. I mean, we're so spoiled in San Diego. We have the zoo, which I grew up
Yeah,
going
oh
to a
god,
lot. We
yeah.
have SeaWorld, grew up going to a lot. We even have Legoland. Love
Oh, you
Legos
just
as a
got
kid.
Legoland?
Got to go
Yeah,
to
there's
Legoland.
Legoland.
So yeah, super spoiled.
Yeah, we got Legoland in a mall here. In like it's like a small Legoland. It's like a little experience. And then
Mm,
there's a big Legoland about 2 hours north of us.
okay. Yeah.
Like an outdoor. It's up in New York State. I think that was at this third. Like I think you have the original Legoland.
Yeah. The one that's not in Denmark or Holland or
Yeah, there's that
wherever.
Legoland. You're the first. I think you're
Right.
the first
Yeah.
in the United States. Now there's like three.
Hmm.
So very cool. All right, so let's get the party started. I'm very excited about this because we talked on the Digital Marketing Dive podcast. We talked about your digital marketing experience and kind of to that. I want to talk more about your entrepreneurial journey and how that's going and whatnot. So let me I'll count myself in and we'll go in from there. All right.
Cool.
All right. In 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneur's Enigma podcast. I'm here with the great Corey Haines of Swipefile fame, of CoreyHaines.co, of this, of that. He literally, the guy is all over the web, and it's impressive. It's like if it's a new startup, Corey might be behind it or be helping out with it, and it's very cool. And I'm very happy. I think I was in the top like 300 people in your community at the beginning, something like that. You had just
Yeah.
launched
Hmm.
it, and I'm being like expanding. I was probably closer to 100, but I wasn't really sure where. So,
Yeah. Somewhere
but
between 100 and 300.
it's somewhere in that realm, But so Corey, tell us about like how did you get started being an entrepreneur? Like I know you worked for Barometrics, you were in house to start off, but like what made you do the journey?
Yeah, so I guess there's kind of a couple of phases, and I'm in
Mm-hmm.
the middle of one of the phases, but we'll call phase zero sort of me dipping my toes in the water a little bit, which was
Mm-hmm.
just creating websites for friends and family and business owners at my church and things like that, where I was just sort of doing freelance work offhand. It got me a little bit of a made my first like freelance money or entrepreneur money, however you want to call it, right? But it's just like money that wasn't, a time per hour sort of
Mm-hmm.
per sort of deal that I was used to. And then we'll call phase one, which was actually launching projects and little mini sites and things like that, and courses. And so while I was still at
Mm-hmm.
Barometrics, I launched Hey Marketers, which is a job board,
It's
and that did
great, yeah.
fairly well. Small revenue, but it was actual, hey, I made this thing and now people are paying for it and using it, which is really, really cool. I'd also
Mm-hmm.
created a couple of courses. I'd created a newsletter. I created a couple of like, curated sites that are like directories for certain resources and whatnot. And so that really allowed me to practice that muscle, build that muscle, see what it's like, get a couple of reps in my set. And now I'd say I'm in phase two, which is I'm still in what I call entrepreneurial purgatory, which is having one foot in
I
consulting
love it.
and one foot in my own stuff. So I still about part-time, 15, 20 hours a week. I still do consulting. I'm the marketing lead for SavvyCal, which is like a
I
Calendly
love Savvy
competitor.
Cow. The only
Yeah.
problem with that is when the way a Philadelphian says it, we say Savvy Cow, and
Right.
it's I have to announce that it's not a bovine.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to enunciate a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm doing SavvyCal part-time, and then part-time also working on Swipefile and other projects that I have my hands in, sort of doing the whole entrepreneur thing. But a lot of it, all of it's been bootstrapped, which is the large reason why,
Mhm.
I haven't been like full-time, fully made the leap because one, there aren't like investors like, hey, what are you doing? Work on this thing over here or that thing over there. But
Which
two,
is
also just
nice.
the money, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's also like the money. You have to self-fund yourself. It's pick yourself up by your bootstraps, and that just takes more time and it takes more flexibility. It takes a little bit of wiggling around to figure out who you are and what you're doing and what people want. Right, that's the big thing about entrepreneurship is just figure out what people want and that they will pay money for. And so the next phase will look like me, stop consulting, go all in, like basically give myself a job with a startup or with a business. But that has not quite happened yet.
Yeah. So really, I mean, I've seen a trend over my interviews is that a lot of people have, they start the side hustle. They have a full-time paid gig working for quote unquote the man or the woman. I don't like the term the man, but working for the person. And I find that a big part of it is that side hustle. That then they're like, wait, I can actually make this less of a side hustle, more of a main hustle, which is kind of the thing. And I like to see that that's what you've done. And then your community is blossoming into something really awesome. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, a lot of it, I think today too, just with the rise of the creator economy, how easy it is to build, tech startups and sort of hack your way around different frameworks and get started with all sorts of boilerplate. Like it's really easy for people to have a side project today where maybe it wasn't 5-10 years ago,
Mhm.
especially 20 years ago when you had to spin up servers and you had to pay expensive services and there just wasn't all the tools available. But now, if I want to start courses, I just go sign up for Podia. If I want to start a podcast, I just go sign up for Transistor.
Mhm.
Whatever you want to do, there's something for that thing that's just like a 5 minutes you're in, configure it a little bit, and then you basically have your side project. You just have to go market it and get people to use it.
It's magical. It's the way the web was. I mean, I remember back in the day, that like building a website, in the late '90s, early 2000s, early aughts, it was easy to spin up a website for the most part, and that was a great feeling and democratization of the web and all that. But it's nothing like it is today. I mean, today, literally, you have an idea. You're like, let me throw $5 for the month at it. Like, that's like no startup call. It's like, all right, I won't go to Starbucks today, and
Right.
I can play with something for a month,
Exactly.
or sometimes it's a month free. Then you can still go get your Starbucks.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of freemium, right? I mean,
Hmm.
MailChimp was one of those big pioneers where it was like, hey, here's your email marketing tool completely for free up to your first 1,000 subscribers, which
Which was
a lot of
ridiculous.
people
Yeah,
never reach or they clean their list and, try to stay under that threshold. But, we have tools like Canva, which is, ubiquitous. We have Gmail. We have all sorts of free tools at our disposal as well.
it's amazing. And you have to remember when it's free, you're the product. I mean, they're definitely But is that necessarily? I love your opinion on this. Is that necessarily a bad thing? 'Cause I always see that when you're the product, the ads are really good. Like Instagram, you're clearly the product, but I would much rather have relevant ads that get me to buy something that I actually want than some crap that is like, this has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, I think that's largely true for a lot of things that we use, startups, companies, but it's not entirely true. Because you
Mhm.
look at a Mailchimp or a Canva, And if you're a free user, you're a free user. You're not a product. They're not selling your data. I don't think they're not showing you ads, unless it's for like a paid version of that product.
Hmm.
And so the freemium business model is basically just like a land grab where you go and
Hmm.
you get into all sorts of people's accounts, and then you have this slow trickle of people who eventually reach some sort of threshold that now they feel the need to upgrade to a paid plan. But of course, like, if you're a social media site, then yeah, your users are your product and you show ads to those users, and that's how you monetize the platform. But it's the same as, with Swifiles, even I have a newsletter, I have a podcast, and I sell ad spots to get
Hmm.
exposure to that audience. That doesn't mean that those people are the product necessarily.
No,
They
exactly.
are, but it's
They're
not
more the
the
target. They're
evil
more the
thing.
target. They're more the target of the ad. And it's
Yeah.
something I feel like I mean, Facebook is kind of iffy that way, but like Instagram's part, I feel like we're the target of the ads, and they're hence targeted ads. And I feel like, give me those ads. I'll take those. I'm getting to play with your platform and share stuff. But ooh, that wallet is really cool. Now, how they find out that I need a wallet is really creepy, and I haven't figured that out. Because I know, and nowhere did I search for wallet before they started showing me ads for it. I swear my phone's listening to me.
Right. Yeah, and that's where the problems come in with the whole, the users of the product, and now it's just, they're incentivized to get more and more data that they can use for advertisers and or sell to other people in some sort of scandalous way.
Hmm. But all right. So right now you're in phase two of your journey, which is Savvy Cal and swipe files, and I know you're tinkering here and there. You're always tinkering with something, and that's what I love about you, Corey. You're always like, "Hey guys," and you actually dog food your own community. It's not like you build this community for other people. You use it for yourself. You're like, "Hey guys, I'm trying to figure out the byline, or not the byline, the CTA for Savvy Cow.
Hmm.
Here's the four I've come up with. What do you guys think?" And I love that you're the creator, you're the curator, you're the owner of Swipe Files, but you're also like the Hair Club for Men. I'm not just the president. I'm a client. Like you use
Right.
your community, which is lovely.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's something that I try to do is just be a participant, right, and be
Mm.
one of the main, value drivers, and also just use the thing that in the way that I want other people to use it as well, right? Because I see all this value in what I've created, and I have this dream and vision for, how I can imagine people to use this thing that I put together. But if I'm not taking advantage of that, then I'm also, selling myself short, right? I'm not taking
Mm.
full advantage of it. I'm not realizing its own potential for my own use, and so it's a great privilege for myself to have. Once you create something that you then go use, and that's also like the kind of ethos and philosophy for how I start a lot of things is I just
Mm.
build for myself and I say, I want this thing to exist in the world, and then go figure out a cheap, easy, fast way to make that thing happen. And then if other people happen to like it and want it also, then we can turn it into business. If not, then it's a side project, or it gets kind of demoted into my own little tool or something that's
Yeah.
free, maybe, and maybe not free, where the people are the products, but free just for free's sake, right?
Yeah.
Just for goodwill's sake.
That's awesome, and like I only actually remember I've been in Swipe Files the community for a while. I don't know how. I think actually, yeah, all things lead back to Matt Medeiros. I think that's where I think everything leads back to Matt.
Yeah.
I think that's where I found out about you was from Matt, and it's funny because if it's relatively within the last year and a half, every like SEO for the rest of us, Brendan,
Yeah.
though you two, the two best communities I'm part of, that I'm actively involved in, are products that have been highlighted on Matt's Matt report. So thank you, Matt.
Thank you,
It's
Matt.
not fun. Thank you, Matt. So so you have the Swipe File community, which I've always find is the more valuable thing than the site. Nothing personal, but like I love Swipe File. But I think I've looked at it 3 times since I've been there. I keep forgetting to go back to look at the main site because the community is just so rich,
Hmm.
full of stuff. But what's your plan for like the Swipe File site itself, separate from the community? Like, what's your plan for that?
Yeah, that's a good question because originally, I had these big, audacious plans for the site to turn it into this, massive hub and resource, and was cranking out all these articles and curating the swipe file and writing these teardowns as well. And everything changes, evolves. I think that's one of the big lessons of entrepreneurship is just, every day looks a bit different, and your dream and vision, you just, keep iterating and pivoting and figuring out, like I said, what people want, but also what you want to create. And that's one of
Hmm.
the hard balances to make is you want to make things that people want, but you want to make those things that you enjoy making, right? You don't want to
Hmm.
just like slave away at something for the sake of making that money, 'cause otherwise you feel like a sellout. You want to make things that are fulfilling in some way, creatively or valuable, or that you just enjoy making inherently. And so
Hmm.
for me, what I'm moving towards a little bit more is, yeah, focus on the community, but also bringing the content into the community instead of outside of the community onto the site. Because originally I was planning on having basically the community embedded into the site. It was a little bit
Oh.
difficult technically to pull off, and it was just kind of like awkward and clunky. And so I decided, never mind, I'm just going to put it on a subdomain. It's going to live over
Hmm.
here. I'll drive people there to get it. But now, I have two places to push people to, which is to the main site and then to the community. So instead of pushing people to the main site, why don't I just, push everyone into the community into one place and have the content live
Hmm.
there as well? So
I'm
that's where
loving
now I'm
that. Yeah.
pushing all of the courses, new content, new formats of things that I'll be doing regularly, so that it's less burden for the members and the community participants, but
Hmm.
also it's a centralized place, right? And that always
Hmm.
makes people's lives easier. If it's just I click on one place, it's here. I can, naturally, kind of organically stumble upon this thing or find it or search for it,
Hmm.
and the user experience is hopefully a little bit better.
Well, that's awesome. And so you also have a great podcast, and you have to, and the way I found it, I found it 'cause you talked about it. And, we talked about it when you were on Digital Marketing Dive. It's called Everything is Marketing. And the best way to find it is like Corey Haines, Everything is Marketing. 'Cause I think it's, one of those broader terms. But I'll put up on the screen here so people can check it out. And tell us a little bit about that. Like, well, I mean, I know like you like to do a bunch of different things. What's your goal with the podcast? Like, other than talk about marketing, obviously.
The podcast is definitely one of those like inherently fulfilling things that I like to do. I love podcasting. I've always been a huge podcast fan and avid listener and consumer. I probably go through, at least 2 hours of podcasts a day
Oh,
personally.
it's
And so
amazing how fast it goes. Yeah.
one of those things where I just wanted this to exist. The sort of like premise and angle is to explore marketing from a pretty broad worldview and lens. So it's not just the SaaS marketing podcast. It's not just the e-commerce email podcast, but it's everything is marketing. So you sort of take all these ideas from different industries, and that way you can remix them and apply them to your own industry, whether that's SaaS or not. That's sort of like the focus for me going forward is how can everything apply to SaaS. But the hard part about marketing is that you can see what everyone else is doing, right? You can see the blog posts they
Mhm.
publish, you can see the podcast they put out, you can read their website and you can sign up for their product and see all their emails. And so what happens is that you look to other people in the industry or even to other competitors as sort of the source of truth of here's what everyone else is doing. This is what we should do as well. And it creates this echo chamber where then everyone's doing the same thing, everyone sounds the same, and there's really no differentiating point, even to a marketing perspective of you don't sound or come off, present
Mhm.
yourself any differently, which is a huge problem. And so the only way to get out of that echo chamber is to literally, walk out of the cave and go
Mhm.
explore different caves and go explore other chambers. So you have to
I love it.
go, learn from affiliate marketers. You have to go learn from, e-commerce paid ad managers, media buyers. You have to go learn from agencies. You
Mhm.
have to go have this really broad exploration so that you can be more creative in your own industry and be sort of the pioneer and the innovator in your space.
I
And
love it.
hopefully everything is marketing is sort of one of those resources that allows people to broaden their perspective and learn to think more creatively.
Oh, that's brilliant. And so obviously people can find you over at, I'll put this up now. I had this all prepared here. So
Well
you can
done.
check you out at Corey Haines. It's Corey with an E between Corey Haines.co. Now, every time I type Corey, like Corey Miller, over post status, I always misspell it because I spell it your way now. So I'm biased apparently. So
On the default. Oh,
you're
that's
the
great.
default in my brain. So there you go. And swipefiles.com, which was a very big coup d'etat because you started out off with swipefiles.co.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you announce, I got the com. I got
Yeah.
the com. And so every once in a while I'll still type in CO. I'm like, nope, over here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even just yesterday, I was going through a newsletter, and I keep finding .co in places still. I'm like, how is this? There's just so many places you don't even know that you use your link, and I found it on like a button on my website for one page in particular, where it still had, it's basically like a redirect link, but it was still the .co, which is fine, and there's
Yeah, because
nothing
it
wrong with
redirects
it.
to
But
the
it was just,
.com, but yeah,
yeah,
it's
but it's just
still,
crazy that there's still that link over there.
that's a riot.
Yeah,
That's a
glad you
riot.
always snagged the .com.
That's awesome. And so this is great. I'm glad that you came on again because it's always nice to chat with you, and it's kind of nice to talk to someone who is less high strung than me. So this kind of calms me down, which is nice. On some of the shows, when I have someone else who's as high strung as me, it's like, whoa, this is going rapid fire. Oh my god, oh my god. So this has been great. I want if everyone would be so kind as to review our podcast, Entrepreneurs Enigma, on the directory of your choice. Podchaser is a great one. We would love that. And if you want to subscribe to the show, go over to entrepreneursenigma.com, which is a redirect, brings you over to the Ghost Media website. I consolidated everything. Talk about a lot of 301s I had to do. That was a nightmare, but now everything's consolidated and it works. So, and Corey, this has been fantastic. Keep up the good work. Keep going with Swipe Files, even when you make it big and you win the lottery or you're this big hot shot. Don't forget us little people. All right.
Never. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. It's fun.
Awesome, buddy. Everyone, we'll see you next week.